I caught you with your bread.
That's never happened to me before.
You said it's never happened to you before?
No, he just killed my whole vibe, my whole swag.
No, man, you got to reframe it. If I caught you with your bread, you know what that means, though, right?
What does that mean?
That means that your bread is coming.
I'm human too. Everybody got to eat, right?
Oh, man. So, Pablo, thanks so much for joining us. I'm going to do a little quick intro and then we'll just get right into it if that's okay with you.
Let's make it happen. Let's go.
Okay, cool. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Fran and Friends podcast. I have a special guest today in Pablo Rosario, who, his accolades, it's a long list, but I won't go down that list with you. He is a men's dating coach and he offers inspiration to men that are trying to find their niche back into dating. Let's say if they are out of alignment with themselves or are just trying to identify what that looks like again. He helps them to find a safe space. I'm going to read a little bit of his bio because I think that'll also add more credentials besides him having a dating company. I mean, what more do you want? All right. So, Pablo, I guess you've been doing this for about 11 years. Is that right?
Yes, I've been doing this professionally for about 11 years, but in my mind, I've actually been doing it since like unofficially since I was 10.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Matchmaking has always been in your.
It's from back then. I mean, it all started with that first heartbreak on the playground. I never forget. Her name was Monica. She had her friend come up to me on the playground, tap me on the shoulder, and say, "Hey, Monica's gonna go out with somebody else for like 2 weeks, and if she doesn't like him, she'll go back out with you." And at the moment, I was like, I played it like I didn't care. I was like, "So, okay, whatever." But Fran, I was heartbroken. I was heartbroken. That was the day I said, "Never again. I'm never again gonna be second place to anybody." And that's what started me down this route. I started to go online to learn things, to work things on myself, to then I started giving advice about the things that I learned to friends. And then over the years, things develop and here we are now.
Ooh, man, that had to be a lasting impression at 10 years old to have that.
Oh
And for
yeah.
you to say, no, it's not going to happen again.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, those are the lessons that we never forget are the ones that hurt us the most.
Honestly, yeah. And I look back on that day and I see that as a gift. And lucky because I've talked to a lot of guys, and a lot of guys have similar stories. And unfortunately, there's some guys that similar things happen, but yet they take the route of being angry, bitter, or take that as a statement of who they are. Like, I'm not good enough, I suck. And then they keep that for the rest of their lives. For me, that was the impetus for me to go like, you know what? I'm going to get better. I'm going to improve myself. I'm going to work on my confidence. I'm going to understand what it's like to talk to women, to interact. And luckily, for me, in my mind, like that is my mission, to help guys more lean in that path. Because nowadays, I'm sure you've seen it, like all the stuff on the internet. And I think that's the reason why we click here. A lot of stuff that we see on yeah. A lot of stuff on the internet is just in my opinion, I don't know if I could say this, but like butthurt guys just giving butthurt advice. And so, I want to help guys heal, find themselves.
Play that back, Pablo. Say that one more time.
I'm not afraid. I'll say it with my chest. Yeah, I'll say it with my own chest. In my opinion, a lot of the stuff on the internet is a bunch of butthurt guys giving butthurt advice. That's it. That's my thing. It's a mentality, and actually, like I feel like I have some footing when I say this because I have a degree in psychology, and a lot of the advice that's given out there is pretty much like, oh, well, if women are like this, then we're gonna be like this and do this like this, so you can have the power, so you can make sure you're dominant. But anybody who's preoccupied is coming from in my mind, coming from a place of weakness. Only those who are don't have power, preoccupied with it. Those who are hurt that want to seek to hurt other people. In my mind, for me, I'm not looking to compete with my lady. And I'm trying to teach that to guys. For me, that's not the point of a relationship. For me, I'm trying to enjoy my time. I'm trying to, cuddle, have a nice little love making sessions and whatnot. That's just my philosophy. And so when I hear guys on the internet give their advice and say, you have to be this, you have to be alpha, I'm like, you know what? I got no beef with you. You want my opinion? That's butthurt advice. And the real issue is not women, but at some point you were hurt. And your answer to that hurt is to cover it up, is to, put it on other people. And for me, I don't think that's the best way to date.
Dang, you just dropped a whole bunch of gems there. I can't figure out which one to start with first.
My bad.
No, those are all good because what's the gentleman's name that passed away?
Kevin
Samuels. Yeah. Yes. I mean, I feel like he was one of them that was giving some interesting advice. I'll call it interesting because he did share some of those views that you've mentioned. And I think everybody's opinion is their opinion. But when it causes us to go in a direction that I say isn't in alignment with what love looks like, and that could look different for different people. I think it takes us away from what we're trying to create. I would say as people that are trying to couple or become husband and wife or whatever their, relationship status as far as them to being together. What do you think about that? What's your thoughts on, if you want to comment on that?
If you want
his philosophy, and how you're just comparing it to, you didn't compare it, but you mentioned that men are sharing butthurt advice that have been hurt themselves because they haven't done the healing work. Is that what I was hearing?
Yeah. Yes. Correct. Yeah. So, it's the psychology in me, the coach in me. I while that's my opinion that they have butthurt advice, I empathize. Empathize because, and you actually touched on it as well, because check this, that the points that they're bringing up are valid, because the dating experience for a guy, like the points they're bringing up, like they're valid as far as the things we experience. We're going out, approaching women, and we're out there like, hey, we're trying to make something happen. They bring up lots of valid points. My point is just in the response to that, because in my mind, like it is what it is. Like things are what they are, but it's how you respond that dictates your reality, that dictates the type of experience that you have while dating. And so in order for that to happen, like check this out, like in order for that to happen, if you think about it, friends, tell me if I'm wrong here, but if you want a healthy, happy dating experience, doesn't that require that you respond in a healthy way? You get what I'm saying? So if you're in a situation,
I would think so.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Rather, let me respond in a way that's hurt, that's emotional, that's triggered. You're just going to get that back. That's something I've always said, is that dating is a reflection of you. And so if you are not seeing the results you want, if you're not meeting the people you want, if the women, the people that you're meeting are toxic, it's not them fault. Not them fault. It's not their fault. It's yours.
You said it right the first time. It's not them fault. It ain't none of them fault. It's our fault. I mean,
it is. And I don't say that in a way of like, blame, because I know, trust me, I get it. We have been hurt before, and I'm not excusing the behavior of people in the past. I'm not doing that. What I'm saying is that it is your responsibility. You are at the source. You are at the origin of your own dating experience. Simply said, what you put out is what you get back. Who you are is who you receive. One of my mentors would always say that we don't date who we want. We date people at our emotional maturity level.
Ooh, geez. I'm saying, ooh, geez, because I actually pulled myself out of the dating world because I identified that I wasn't ready. I was being triggered. And then because I was being triggered, I was like, oh, okay, well, Fran needs to go back into these books and see what's up with herself.
But I think that was the right move. I think that was the right move. I think that was a beautiful move, a healthy move for yourself, to take care of yourself. You realize like, hey, I need to take a look at certain things and I need to pick me up. And I should applaud you for that, because rather than going and pointing the fingers, you were like, you know what, let me take a look at myself. Let me try to, see what's inside. What are these parents about? And how can I take responsibility for it? So in my opinion, that's the right move. And guess what? If that takes you a little bit of time to do, then so be it. Because I can tell you what, on the other end, once you are to a place where you're like, you know what, I'm ready, guess what? You're going to start meeting amazing people. Your experience is going to be different. You're going to be able to catch a lot of the nonsense ahead of time and be like, nah, no, thank you. No gracias. You can go keep rocks. I'm good.
Totally. I totally agree. I started like in my business, I started this program where I'm elevating with a few other accountability coaches, and
Yeah.
oh, I can't wait till it's done. We can revisit this conversation, but the vibration is what I want to talk about. The vibration, I can totally see that the people that I'm surrounding myself with, they're mirroring a version of myself that is something that the universe wants me to have. So
Yes. 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 And yes, and it definitely reflects. It definitely spills over into other areas of your life. So a lot of the things that I talk about, things that we were just talking about, it's not only applicable to dating; it's just life in general.
totally, totally. So Pablo, what the heck? You've been in 72 countries teaching over 1,500 students. What? How did you get there?
So I, the stuff that I've taught, I've leveraged the internet, and
Mhm.
I just found just different platforms just to get the word out as much as possible. Between courses, between speaking, between doing podcasts and things like that. For me, the idea is just to get the word out as much as possible. For me, it's like you never know, you really never know, and there's always that possibility that one person finds you on some random planet. Because also it's funny, like I listen to in my podcast, I have a podcast as well. When I look at my statistics,
I
I
know.
see
I know.
some.
Share with the people what your podcast is too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, so the podcast is the Red Velvet podcast. It's on Apple, Spotify.
Mhm.
Essentially, it's a dating podcast. Focused around building better men. That's the focus behind it. So better relationships,
Oh,
better you, better life. That's the focus there. And when I looked at my stats there, like it was just an example of some of the things that like just an example of how far reaching like things can go when you just place it things, and you never know. People from Denmark, people from Japan, Brazil, Ukraine. I'm like, I've never thought in my life that my voice and my things would reach people that far, and to get that type of interaction. And some of the DMs that I get on TikTok and Instagram, it just really blows my mind as far as like
wow.
Kenya, South Africa. And I'm like, wow. And so, as far as just leveraging different platforms, just essentially to get out there as much as possible. That's the idea, and that's how to make it happen. It's a little bit of patience, but it's just like, hey, there's an opportunity. I'm like, I don't care how small, how big, let's do it.
Mm. So I understand that you were the former dating head coach for the New York Times bestseller selling author. What's his name? The dating expert Neil Strauss.
Correct. No stops.
What did that look like? How did you get into, I know you said you started at 10. Like how did the trajectory of you getting into connecting with Neil Strauss and then you jumping, I believe, into your own company after that, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. And
How did
so,
that timeline work out?
yeah, no. So, like you mentioned, so Neil, like he wrote this, he's written quite a few bestsellers. One of the more notable ones in the dating space is called The Game. It's a book where he spent about 2 years living with pickup artists. And from there, it began to develop. And then he started to get more into the healing aspect, where he dropped those things. He found out, like, hey, if we really want a relationship, we have to drop the tricks, heal ourselves. And that ended up rubbing off on me. And the way that I came across is I first read his book. Then I found out that he had a men's group in which I was like, hey, I want to join. And then I volunteered for an event in New York, because he was having an event in New York. And I said, hey, I'm from the area. Let me help. I threw an after party for like 72 guys in New York City.
What?
And if you can imagine, trying to get 72 guys into different places in New York City was quite the challenge. Quite the challenge. But I was just so excited. I was just so excited. I just wanted to contribute to the mission of just helping guys in general. I wanted to be part of that. And
Wow.
then little did I know, so they invited me to do it again in Spain. They said, hey, we love what you did in New York. We want you to do it in Spain. Frank, I had never been to Spain before. But guess what? You know I'm going to say yes. I'm not going to let this opportunity pass by.
I wouldn't have either.
I'm a big opportunity guy. You tell me I'm like, yes, I'll figure it out later. And so, Fran, I'm there with calling cards. I don't know if you remember calling cards back in the day.
I do remember calling cards.
Yeah.
Don't date yourself, bro.
Yeah. I'm going to say what you listen. I'm there with calling cards, trying to call Spain, trying to plan an event, someplace I've never been before. I ended up flying over, and it was a great time. And little did I know that was actually my job interview. I did not know that at the time, because at the end of the trip, he comes up to me and goes, hey, listen, we have a position in LA. You did a great job. We have a position in LA that I think you'd be great for. And I said, yes, just give me 2 weeks. And then
what were you doing prior to that?
That's a funny question. I was an inside sales agent for Dish Network. So I was selling satellite TV.
Okay.
Before that, yeah, I was selling satellite TV and little sales job. I was living at home with mom at the time, and I'm about like maybe 2 years out of college after this, maybe 3 years out of college, and so boom, I got the job, and then within 2 weeks, I moved from New Jersey to California. Then I spent the next 6 years over there, starting out like kind of like as an assistant role, and then again, that's one thing. Actually, insane is funny. The more I talk about it, the more I realize that the way that I bumped up was just another opportunity where there was a moment where we were putting on a conference. And he said, like, hey, like, we need this done. And I said, I'll do it. Mind you, Fran, I never knew what I was doing. I just said, I'll do it. And I just said, hey, I'll do it. Sign me up. But I just kept taking opportunities. And then I ended up building the trust to become the head dating coach, which for me was a real honor because I looked up to this guy. And for him to be like, hey, all right, you can, I want you to teach with me, was very big. And I got to learn a lot. More than anything, I got to learn more about like the stuff that I talk about in my life as far as healing, as far as being your best self, and how that is the key to success in relationships. And then, from there, it came a time where I had my own vision that I wanted to bring to the world. And I had a conversation with him. He was like, I support it. Go and do your thing, man. I love you and I wish you the best. And if I can help you, let me know. And so
he gave you the blessing to go?
He actually took me out to dinner.
That's awesome.
Yeah. No, I love Neil. Neil is a fantastic guy, super knowledgeable, super caring. I learned so much from my time working with him. And it was so cool about the way it went down. I approached him with honesty. I told him, listen, I appreciate it. And because I really love him and I love the company, instead of being like, hey, I'm out, I gave like a 2-month notice. That way I was like, hey, I'll stay and I'll train whoever you need me to. And if you need me afterwards, I'd be more than happy to, fill in here and there. And yeah, so he's real cool about it.
That's dope. What a great story.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. And I've been doing this now I opened up my own shop for like 5-6 years. My company is called the Red Velvet Group.
Do you have any books out?
Do I have any books?
Yeah.
Not yet. I am working on a book. I have this 10-year vision of where I want to put out 3 books. And so I'm working on it.
Okay, cool. Because I was like, oh man, I'm sure people want to get a hold of that book to see, just to follow your story. And yeah. So for your first client, when you first, I wouldn't say this would be like a first because you've already been out in the industry at this time, right?
Yes. Yeah. I've done it in multiple capacities.
So as you transitioned, what did that look like for you having to start up your own company? Was it different from what you envisioned? Was it like?
It was interesting. And it was interesting because of my background and just me being stubborn, and I don't know, but I did not want to use Neil's name as when establishing my own. Once I see him as a friend. We're like genuine friend where I don't want to be a type of guy where like, hey, I used to work for this guy. Look what I like, from a friend standpoint, that doesn't feel right to me. Secondly is I wanted to build my own name. I wanted people to work with me based on, my own merits, on my own value, how I offer, how I work with people. And so my first client, funny enough, my first client came from a podcast. So I was interviewed in a podcast. And then at the end, I told like, hey, if anybody, wants to work with me, let me know. Here's my email. And then that was my first client as far as working with him. And the nerve wasn't really more like in delivering the service, because at that point I had been doing it for a while. I've been doing the coaching and helping guys get results. The first thing is that the transition was more in seeing the value in myself and asking for what I'm worth. So yeah, so despite having the expertise and the confidence as far as socially, entrepreneurism or entrepreneurship was a different arena where I had a different arena with a whole new set of skills, a whole new set of fears and insecurities that I had to work on. And one of the biggest ones right off the bat was asking for what I was worth. Because you know, even though like I was new, and by the way, they didn't know that, but my skill level was again, I had
already seasoned. Yeah, you already had 11 years under your belt.
I had 11 years. I haven't done it for a while. I've proven I got results. I've worked with people, you know, that are like CEOs, entrepreneurs, Grammy Award winners. So like I've worked with high level people in those situations, produce results repeatedly. So the skill level was there, and so you know, like for me, like yes, like it's worth something. Especially someone who can help you produce a result that's taking you years, and I can help you do it in a matter of weeks. But it was an insecurity thing. Is Pablo worth that? And so that's one of the things that I struggled, at least at the beginning. That's what I was saying.
Oh, that's so good. But we gotta talk about that on another podcast. But even though it is still a part of this in a way, right? Because I mean, because that's kind of how attraction works, right? Because that's one of the things we want to talk about. How does attraction work? What does that look like?
Yes. So attraction, it works on multiple levels. There's, you know, surface level psychology, there's inner work. And for me, my philosophy, the way I think about attraction is the ability to draw people into you, the ability to draw people under your aura, your vibe. And, you know, the way that happens is multiple ways. But my philosophy, as far, something that I coined called like character driven attraction, where the attraction is based off your character, who you are, and using that to attract people. And the reason why I like that better than what's out there is because it doesn't matter whether you're tall, short, large, skinny, whether you have a limp, you have 2 teeth, 1 teeth, pimple, doesn't matter, because if the internal is right, then everything else falls into place. Because so Peter, like I grew up, like I said, in New York, New Jersey area. And over there, like one of the inspirations are the women over there. And there are women over there that they don't fit the conventional definition of like, okay, like this is conventional beauty. However, they walk around like it. They walk around like it. And then there's something about you that makes you go, hold up. Let me talk to you for a second. And that's it. And it proves to my point that attraction is not a matter of looks. It's a matter of vibe, energy, characteristics, and psychology. If you can understand that, you can attract
characteristics and psychology.
Yes, characteristics, psychology, and there's a little special sauce as like your vibe, your energy. Those three combined, you can attract anyone. I promise you. And I've seen different people. I don't care, like I said, large, short, old, young. I've seen different people from all walks of life work. I have a client. He got a date using Pokemon. That's something as known as Pokemon. I have another
the game Pokemon?
Yeah, the game Pokemon, exactly.
I'd love to hear that story.
Pokemon. I have another client who is in his 50s. Guess what? He just got engaged. I have another client who is large. He's engaged as well. So it doesn't really matter, because really attraction, it comes from those things. And if you're able to understand those and use them here's the key, to enhance other people's experiences and cause an emotional reaction, or the way I like to think about an emotional spike. Now we're cooking. Now you got something, because from my experience, above all, you don't want to be boring, because boring, unmemorable. I mean, you tell me when you're talking with someone, especially like a guy or like boring doesn't cut it.
It doesn't. It doesn't. Right? I do not want to come back here again.
Yeah, like listen, thank you for your time. You're a great guy, but
Why do I feel like you stole my line?
Because I've heard it many times, Fran. Because I've heard it many times. Trust me. But here's the thing though. Like, if you can learn how to use those things to cause an emotional spike in somebody, whether that be laughter, surprise, passion, intrigue, now you're a fascinating person. If you can
I
cause
remember
it,
you saying that. I'm sorry,
yeah.
Pablo. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No. I was saying, like, yeah, now you're an interesting person. Now you're a memorable person, because the way humans work, we're emotionally wired. We pay attention, we become attached to things we have an emotional association to. I mean, think about it. Your favorite movie, your favorite person, your favorite memory. Why are they your favorite? Why do you go back? Because there's an emotional connection. It made you feel something. And so, yeah.
No, because I remember when I saw you on one of your TikToks and you were saying that, like, okay, hey, when you're going out to, have a conversation with her, or whatever, if you guys are going to Denny's, you know, have like a role play kind of thing going on. That
Mhm.
way she can have some kind of buy-in. And I thought, oh yeah, that's right. Those are very memorable.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just thought, oh, okay, well, okay, that definitely would be a conversation that I want to pick up again and maybe interact with, because you're not giving me the same, oh, so how many brothers and sisters do you have? Like,
Yeah.
do you really care? Like, come on now. You
Like, yeah, no, let's be like, you don't. You're just trying to fill the space. You're just throwing something in the dark, hoping something hits. Come on now,
oh goodness.
But nobody teaches us that. I mean, that's why I have empathy for everyone, because no one teaches us this. This is things. These are things that people assume we should just know. We should just be good at. But the reality is that this is a skill. That's the good news. That attraction and learning how to meet and connect with people is a skill that anybody can learn.
Speaking of skill,
Mhm.
a lot of people have dealt with trauma,
Yes.
which affects their relationships. Can you touch a little bit about that? And I guess that's how some of the clients are attracted to you or brought to you, because they really don't know how to have like social skills, right? Is that what I'm
Yeah. So
kind
it's
of?
a yes. You're on the right track. So the type of clients that I work with, they have this feeling or understanding, like, yeah, okay, I have trouble talking and connecting with women, and part of the reason is internal. They understand either I'm shy, either I'm introverted, either I'm afraid of getting hurt, and on some level they understand, like, hey, this is something that I've been stuck with for a while. And for me, the way, like, I approach dating and helping people, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna teach you what to say and how to move, but more importantly, I'm gonna address what is the root issue inside. Because my belief is that you're already naturally attractive. Like, all my clients, I call them like, "What's up, big sexy? What's up, good looking?" Because, like, that's because I want to reflect that back to them, because, like, everybody, like, has that, like, they have the juice, they have the mojo already, but it's that trauma, that insecurity, that limiting belief that's made them forget it. That's made
Mm,
them not realize what they have going on for them. And
mm,
so, as far as when we were younger, so just to give you, like, here's a coaching session in like a minute, essentially,
all right,
generally with
cool.
everybody,
Let's
is
go.
that um, 90% of your dating problems can be traced back to something when you were younger. When we were younger and we had our interaction with our caregivers, that was where we developed our model for relationships and for love. And so, what I mean by that is that, and this is going to blow people's mind, is, like, for example, like, yes, I like people that have these traits, but guess what? You won't actually like them unless they also have these quote unquote negative traits as well. So, like, for example, there may be some people, or I talk about myself, for example. For me, I'm in love with independent women. I love it. I love it. Because my mom is an independent woman. However, at the same time, I tend, in the past, I would attract women that were also critical. Guess what?
Mm,
Mom dukes every now and then. My whole thing was, don't piss mom off, don't piss mom off. So in relationships, when I got older, I continued that, don't piss her off, don't piss her off. So what I would do, I would feel like I would act on eggshells, or I would kind of like, sneakily be passive around certain things. And so how we relationship as adults came out of how we relationship when we are younger. Secondly, is that because of those relationships, we ended up making defining beliefs about ourselves. Like, for
mm,
example, I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy of love. I'm invisible. I'm only worthy of love. Like in my case, I'm only worthy of love if I perform, if I
Mm.
succeed. And so for me, a lot of my drive was to succeed, to get approval, to prove my worth. For me, I wouldn't approach women back in the day because in my head I was like, nah, I haven't achieved enough. Nah, like I'm not successful enough. And then in my relationships, I would have little mini freakouts because in my head, like, oh shit, I failed. I'm sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to curse. Sorry about that. But I'd
No,
be
no,
like,
go ahead. I mean,
oh, yeah, I would
I'm
be
not
like,
TikTok police.
I would be like, oh no, I failed. I have to perform again in order to get her attention. And so because of that wound, I was never really dating as real Pablo. I was dating as a mask. I created a mask in order for people to like me. And people
Mhm.
tend to do that as adults. That's where they're learning from. Like, hey, I'm not good enough. So I have to create a different version of myself in order to get people to like me. And what that ends up doing is that anxiety, depression, resentment, panic attacks, self-sabotaging behaviors, all because we're trying to keep up this mask to prevent the world from seeing our imperfect selves.
Mm.
And the work that I do is helping them realize is that you are imperfect, you are perfect as you are. And what I mean by that is that all the parts of you, the parts of you that may be moody, the parts of you that's maybe sensitive, the parts of you that's courageous, all that put together is what makes you perfect, not just the positive qualities. And once
Mhm.
people realize that, they're like a whole new person out in the world.
I'm interested to find out how you healed. And yeah, I there's this book called Healing the Inner Child by Natalia Levine.
Okay, okay, all right,
And she talks about that same scope, how
yeah,
the relationship that we have with our mothers, and also Dr. Amy, I forgot her last name, um, the relationship that we have with our mothers in the womb, and how they also have the relationship, like, once we're outside and
mm,
we're observing them as kids. That's
yeah,
the same kind of relationships that will also garner when we do get into romantic relationships or relationships in general, because I've also seen that same pattern of behavior play out in like relationships that I've had with family and coworkers. It doesn't matter. It's a dynamic connection of people
yes.
trying to figure out who they are in this landscape of conversation and communication.
Yes, yes. I mean, just listen, being human, you gotta like it's hard being a human, man. We gotta have empathy. We gotta have compassion on ourselves because, like you said, we have these relationships. They get cemented really young, and
Mm.
even though logically, like it doesn't make sense, but you just can't help but either react a certain way to have certain fears or insecurities, and those relationships, like I said, they heavily influence us as we get older. Now, as far as me, as far as like my healing journey.
Mhm.
Oh, so my healing journey was interesting. Like first, it started off like when I had that first breakup in the playground. I wanted to learn how to get women, but then I realized I just want to learn how to feel good enough. That's what when I realized that I'm like, okay, that is a real issue. So everything I started reading and learning was more about that. And I've done a couple, I've done a couple of events myself, and the work that I did with Neil Strauss, there were a couple of events where I got to participate and I got to work on my own things. And
Mm.
so I've done things like breath work. Breath work is a great thing where essentially you're breathing in a certain way that really oxygenates your body, but it's a way to work out the trauma through the body. So I've done that as well.
Close to
I yeah, exactly, yeah, yeah. I've done many men's groups, so I highly recommend that to find a group that you feel comfortable in because just talking about it and getting that feedback and getting the space to work through things is magical. So that
Mm.
has been really helpful for me. And also, I've also, just more importantly, I've cultivated like a practice
Mm.
of awareness and curiosity. And what I mean by that is that, I'm always, in a sense, just always like watching myself as I'm living as myself. So that way, like when something comes up, I go, oh, that's interesting. I felt a certain type of way about that. Why
Mm.
is and then I was to go the rabbit hole and have that honest conversation. And because of my training and things like that, I know how to like ask myself certain questions to get to the root of the thing.
Well, give us one thing so we can ask ourselves, Pablo, drop us a dime.
Yeah. uh, okay. All right. Maybe I can give you oh my gosh. All right. So I'll give you a recent example. I'll give you a recent example. And the one great question, I'll give you one great question is simply ask yourself why about 5 to 7 times.
For the initial.
So yeah, so like for example, I'll give you a great example. This is actually something. By the way, too, I'm always working on myself. My journey is not done. Like I'm currently in the middle of something that I'm working through as well. And recently, I became actually not recently, like 2 years now. But I became a father. Uh, so my little girl, she's 2 now, and while it's the most beautiful thing ever, at the same time, I'm gonna be. Thank you. I'm gonna be honest though. It's brought up some stuff in me. It's brought up some stuff in me that
Oh, Pablo, I got 3.
you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. And so I noticed the old wound of having to perform come up again. And so then, and so this is what happened. So and it happened like, and it really gets brought up at the gym because I used to play baseball, and so I see other people around me. I can help I compete, but I know. So this is how the process happened. One, I noticed myself getting frustrated. That was first just noticing that, right? And like, okay, Pablo, why are you frustrated? Oh, because I'm losing. I'm not winning. Everybody's beating me. Okay. Well, why is it important for you to beat people? Because I have to win. Why do you have to win? Because I have to be number one. Why do you have to be number one? Because if I don't win, people won't love me.
Mm.
And I was like, oh shit, okay. All right. And what happens if people don't love you? And why people will leave me? Now we got to the root of it. So now through that awareness, through that questioning, I'm able to get to the root of the thing, which is my fear of abandonment. Like that's the like if I don't perform, there's this fear that people will leave me. That won't be good enough. People leave me. So now I know that that is a root issue. Now, okay, now I know what's a real thing. Now I have a chance to investigate that. And one of the things that this is just a quick thing that everyone can do is like here are my favorite like top 10 things you could verbally say to yourself. It's number one thing that I tell everybody is that's okay. So like, oh, I have a fear of abandonment. I feel angry, and that's okay. And that is probably like my number one thing ever. The reason why, because we give to ourselves that which we've been seeking from the world, which is understanding and compassion. Because we always judge ourselves for not being perfect. I shouldn't be angry. The world should be this way, and I'm upset that I'm upset. Like something happens when you go, I'm upset, and that's okay. And so you give yourself that acceptance, that gives you that compassion. That's the first step in healing, to give ourselves that. That's number one. The second thing, and by the way, try it out. Try it out. I encourage everyone to try it
Oh
out.
no, like I'm like you right now, Pablo. I'm going through my own stuff, and I'm like, all this right here is you are mirroring the things that the universe is needing for me. And so I was just like, okay, universe, if you want to use Pablo to give me this message, I'm with it.
Oh, look, I see, Fran. See, Fran, you start attracting like. You work on yourself. You meet people on the journey. There you go.
Appreciate it.
There you go. Yeah. Well, that'll be that's the number one thing that honestly gets you through any storm, in my opinion. Just saying, and that's okay. So that's the first thing. The second thing that you can do is gratitude. And I know it sounds cliche, but when you say and that's okay, like I'm noticing that that's okay, you separate yourself from the feeling. Now you're in a space where you're not trying to keep your head. You're not in a space where you're trying to keep your head above water. Now you're on the shore, and now you're able to do things. So I'm noticing this, and that's okay. Number one. Number two, gratitude, and say, hey, thank you for bringing it for my attention. I appreciate you trying to protect me, because the truth is that quote unquote wound. I hesitate to even call it a wound, but that quote unquote wound is not there to mess you up. It's not there to remind you of your inadequacy. That's just you trying to protect yourself. That's your inner self. That's inner Fran trying to protect yourself, trying to see, hey, look out for this. Hey, I just want you to know, look out for this. It's just the brain protecting itself. And so
I almost envision this like, when you go to a chiropractor and then your body's out of alignment. And so you need to go to the chiropractor so you can push some stuff into place so that way your body can be back into its optimal performance again.
Yeah. That's how you do it. Because the goal here, friend, I'm gonna get to the last steps in a second, but this is just dropped this for everybody. So the goal is not to never feel bad. That's not the do not measure your success by never feeling bad. Don't be like, oh man, I had such a good week and it was a bad day. Like, no. Because that's unrealistic. That's not true. That's not real life. We're humans. It's part of the experience. It's like the seasons. You're gonna get happy, sad, all that. So do not judge it by that. Measure yourself by how well you can get back to center. So if and so let's say you're off, right? Maybe in the past pissed you off for like a week. It got you off your game for a week. As you're doing this work, guess what? Instead of a week, it took you 3 days. Hey, now we're moving. Instead of 3 days, maybe a little bit later, now you're like, you know what? It took me an hour. An hour, I'm back on my game. Boom. And you keep cutting it down 30 minutes. That is the win. How well can you get back to center? How well can you get back to that place in the middle where now you can operate from choice? You can operate from your highest self, from your values, from how you want to live your life. And so if I tell anybody, like, this is how you measure yourself, is by that. I'm gonna tell you, for me, hella proud of myself. When I would get in arguments with my lady, silent treatment. That's because of my pattern. Silent treatment. You're getting silent treatment for 3 days. Now, it's just because that's how I dealt with stuff, and that was a pattern that I used to cope with that.
Now she just gets an hour of silent treatment.
Now she's an hour. That's an hour, right? But it's okay. But you know what? I'm super proud. Okay. Because now I communicate. I'm like, hey, listen. Because here's what I'm even more proud about. It's that she's like, Pablo, why don't you just, like, I wish you would be the first one to just come in and talk to me after an argument. And I tell her, all right, I'm gonna try my best to understand that. You just have to understand, for me, I just need a little time to calm down so I can speak to you in the way that I want to speak to you. And just even communicating that, knowing my own needs and what I need, that is the win. And so, like, that's what winning looks like, ladies and gentlemen. That's what it looks like to be an emotionally healthy adult while dating. To be able to communicate, hey, this is what I need. This is I'm gonna do my best to come back to center, and because I want to operate and talk to you from a place of love and neutrality and peace, not from a place of being triggered or a place from being off center. So that is what it looks like. And so, and this applies to all type of relationships. But after you acknowledge it, after you gratitude for it, now you check it. You check it, and what I mean by that, you go, okay, well, is this a fact? Is this 100% fact? What I'm thinking, like, oh, she's playing me. Oh, she's being mean. Like, is it 100% fact? No, chances are it's not. It's a story. So then, if it's not a story, then okay, then what else? What's another way I can look at this? What's in it? Right? You look at your values. According to my values, how can I look at this? So, like, for example, for me, one of my values, especially in a relationship, is assuming positive intent. And what I mean, and I learned this from Tony Robbins, that in a relationship, always assume your partner has positive intent. Even if they say something sideways, assume that there's positive intent and be like, yo, you know what? She's usually so great to me. Something must be off. I wonder if something stressed her. And then now,
great notes.
Yeah. And now you get to interact. I get to interact with her now from a place of, oh, you coming at me? I'm gonna come at you. Now I can play from a place of, what's really going on? What's really happening? Oh, Papa, I'm sorry. I'm just stressed. You know, the baby and everything. Like, okay, I'll help you out. What's going on? Talk to me. That's just one of my values in relationship. In life, one of my values is self-kindness, which means, Pablo, take it easy. Look at all the other great things that you've done. Let's operate from that place. At the gym, like I said, there have been times I've been frustrated, but my value is one of my values is how you show up versus what you achieve. That's part of my healing, just picking different mantras. And like, hey,
how you show up versus what you achieve.
Yeah. That's a big one. So for me, value how you show up or who you're being or your way of being over what you achieve. What I mean by that is that it applies to anywhere. I'm just going to use the gym. That, okay, I could achieve and, lift the most in class and finish the workout the fastest, right? Or I can measure myself by, hey, I showed up. I was energetic. I gave it my all and I pushed myself. At the end of the day, that's what we're really proud about. And that's what we get angry about with ourselves. It's like, oh man, I didn't act the way that I acted. I mean, I didn't act the way I wanted to act. I didn't show up the way I was. So pretty much judge yourself for your way of being rather than what you achieve. And your way of being is more within your control. And here's the thing, like, and it goes back to my first principle when I talked about earlier in the podcast, which was we get who we are. And that's like that's actually a principle of the universe too. If we expand it out, the universe doesn't give you what you want. The universe gives you who you are.
Mm.
And so if you want things in life, it's who you are that matters. Measure yourself by that, because that's within your control. That you can always improve upon. And that even in those shittiest situations, like, damn, you know what? I just had an argument. I was mad with my lady, or, I'm feeling sad. But guess what? During that period of sadness, I didn't beat myself up. I was actually compassionate. I'm proud of myself for that. With my lady, yeah, I was angry, but guess what? I didn't get defensive. I listened and I communicated. I'm proud of myself for that, even though I made a mistake, but I owned up the mistake. And so it's that we need to take pride on. And in my formula, in my head, anything you want in life, it's not about what you do, it's about who you are and who you're being. And essentially that boils down to attraction, to meeting people, and so on and so forth. So yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys are writing notes here, because Pablo just dropped a whole bunch of gems here. You get your little pen, when you're trying to search for gold, get things that you need. So he talked about like our energy, our vibe, our character. And there was one more thing to his formula that talked about attraction. What was that?
Psychology.
Yeah. So that was one of the gems he dropped. The other gem that he dropped was the 5 whys. Keep asking yourself why, to get to the whole crux of what the issue really is, whether it be abandonment, you don't want to be left alone, or just whatever that might be. Mm-hmm. And then providing yourself with some gratitude, right?
Yep, some gratitude.
And then checking your story to see if it's coming from a real place, or if the story is even real.
Yeah.
And also coming from a place of positive, right? Positivity for your partner, having them.
Assuming positive intent.
Assuming positive intent. Thank you. Yeah. So I just wanted to reiterate that, because those are all great gems that I think people can actually utilize in their own lives. Yeah. So Pablo, we only have like 5 more minutes, and I wanted to get to a round robin. I wanted you to talk about current dating trends. What does that look like?
So I'm be honest, Fran, I'm not the best person to ask, because I stay on my own lane. For me, I do people around just to, keep in touch and to see what our people are going through. But as far as dating trends, especially with the development of the internet, it's ugly out there. It's not fun. People are dating like teenagers, like kids. People here are pessimistic. They are not doing the work or the tools. They are dating for the internet, I think, where their partner that they want to go after, guess what, where they got that criteria from? The internet. I want to be like what other, like, because this is what I should want. And it's on both sides of the fence, men and women. And it's turned into a power struggle, in my opinion. It's turned into a power struggle when for me, dating and relationships are a great vehicle for healing. And I feel like, yeah, I feel that they are a great vehicle for healing. It's in relationship with someone that we learn about ourselves, that we get triggered, and we get to heal ourselves, and we get to enjoy and actually like let ourselves go and find that love and that comfort in somebody else. And the way dating is nowadays, it's either you have to have these criteria in order to be quote unquote high value, this, that, and the other. Who decides high value? There's a part of me that because I get really passionate. Like, I would love, a part of me wants to get on these debate shows because I'm passionate about it. The other part of me is like, that's just a waste of breath. Let me just put my energy to actually helping people. But like, for example, the whole thing about high value man, high value woman. I mean, like, what is that? Who cares? First off, value is relative. What might be high value to someone may not be high value to somebody else. So right there, who cares? Secondly, if you're trying to be high value and claim high value, again, you're doing it for other people. You're not doing it for the person. You're doing it just to show off, be like, hey, I'm high value to the world, or to say I have a high value man. Forget if they're nice, forget if they're caring, forget if they treat you nice. Hey, they're high value, that's
One
all
of,
that matters. So
one of
there's
my one of my sisters, Hanif Jordan, she says this in one of her talks that she had gotten a man that, was supposed to be high value, and he treated her like a product.
boom, boom. There you go. There you go. And I love you brought that up because my answer to that is to, instead of thinking about high value in those terms, think about your values as far as like characteristics and does that person feel it. So for me, one of my values in a relationship, I'm sure you have yours, I would love to hear yours. It's like, for me, a partner, the values that I have, someone who's kind, someone who's ambitious, someone who someone who is affectionate. Like those are some who's growth minded. Those are my values. And so if I find someone, when I look for someone, I look for someone high in those values. For me, that's how high value means in my head, not the superficial stuff. Because you can be a baddie. You can have all curves left and right. You could be a dude in 6 foot, 6 pack, six figures, but that doesn't mean nothing if they treat you bad.
Mm.
Like, are they really high value if they treat you like crap? If you don't feel loved, if you don't feel comfortable, like you can be yourself, is that really high value? Or right, you can't lie to me and say like some of the best times of your life have been in that moment when you're with someone that really fills your cup in those terms, as far as like, damn, I'm just, it's the kindness and the love, the ambition, like that really does it for me. That is what gets the juice to squeeze, in my opinion. And so, as far as the dating trends out there, there's one right now. I don't know if you've seen it, Fran, but this whole thing, this sprinkle versus drizzle. Have you seen that?
I heard those words. I honestly don't know what that is.
So,
but please share with us.
yeah. So again, from my understanding, like I said, I stay in my own lane. My own happy space. But apparently, I can start off. I believe like there's a trend among women where they're like, hey, we need a guy to sprinkle in our lives, as far as like financial abundance, take us on trips, and pay for our bills. And if you can't do it, just say you're broke. And then in counter to that is men have like, they made up their version called drizzle, where they're essentially saying the same thing the women are saying, like, hey, listen, baby girl, listen, this is a $200 haircut. This suit costs this much. If you can't afford me, just say it. And it's funny, but again, it's turned dating into a competition. And I feel like that's what a lot of trends do nowadays. It just becomes a power struggle. But like I said at the beginning, those who seek power like that don't have it. And so for me, it's funny. I was having a conversation with some dudes, and for me, like a quote unquote alpha, right? For me, the real alpha move is when you let your woman lead when she wants to.
Wow.
Yeah, because for me,
you got to back that up, repeat it again real slow.
Oh, no, I'm gonna break it down. I'm gonna break it down. I'm breaking it down because, like, all right. So there's one thing as far as the man is like, you're supposed to be a leader and you want to do this, and you want to be dominant, things like. And if she leads, you're not a man. You're alpha. She's a man in a relationship. I beg to differ, Poppy. Reason why is because one of my mentors, actually Neil, told me is Pablo. One day he was like, Pablo, like, who's more important? Who's really the man in the situation? The person getting the medal or the person giving the medal?
Ooh.
Break that. Let me read. Who's more important? Who's really that dude? Who's really that woman? The person that is receiving and getting the medal or the person giving the medal?
Wow.
And
the one that already has the medal in their possession, giving it to the person.
And exactly. So for me, as a man, my woman, she's very strong. I love that about her. And there's like, you don't think you'll find out about me, Fran. I have a lot of quotes in my head, but there's this quote that says, strong women intimidate boys and excite men. And for me, I that's my mom. I saw her grow up like that. My woman, she's extremely strong-willed, independent, and opinionated. And guess what? I don't come in and be like, no, listen to me, stuff like that. Like, no, I'm like, you know what, babe, go ahead, do your thing, because here's why it works. Because number one, the level of confidence to be able to sit back and be like, nah, do you, babe? I'll be in the passenger seat, ain't no thing. Like the level of confidence that it takes to do that, in my mind, is unbelievably sexy. Number two, you are creating the environment for your partner to become the full version of themselves. Because this is my opinion, for any person, like a woman or a man, but if they have like strong personality and someone's like, no, tone that down, don't do that. That's not love.
And to me, I feel like that's insecurity.
100% is insecurity. 100% is insecurity. They are and ready, Fran. I'm gonna blow your mind too. Here too, we're gonna, and I'm assuming that we're all adults here. That all of Fran's friends are adults. So let me break this down. So for guys out there, right? And I don't know if you cut this out, but this is live. So here we go. So I apologize ahead of time. Now it's like PG-13. So I'm gonna keep it TikTok appropriate. So one of the things like people, like guys talk about is like masculine and feminine. And this is where like ready about to break their minds, right? Guess what, buddy? When you're intimate with your woman and she's on top, guess what? She's in her masculine, you're in your feminine. If she's at any point giving and you are receiving, you are in your feminine and she's in her masculine. Reason why? Because masculine and feminine is not like man, woman. They're energies that we both possess. Men and women both possess these energies. Now, it's just at different times, like in order for a relationship to work, there needs to be a yin and yang, a give and take, a flowing back and forth. If there's too much on one end, that's imbalance. And so, right. And so when you give, in my opinion, and when I tell my guys, right, when you give a woman the opportunity for her to really let loose and for her to really give to you, that's empowering, that's sexy, that's enjoyable. And guess what? Guess what, buddy? You're in your feminine. So don't talk to me about, feminine, masculine, being alpha. Like, nah, brother. Like, you contradicting yourself. If that's the case, then never let a person hold a door open for you, because that's receiving. That's feminine energy. Never accept a gift, because like that's receiving, feminine energy. And so, like I get where they're coming from, because at the same time, I understand women want to be feminine, women want to be taken care of. But there takes a certain amount of social intelligence, a certain amount of emotional intelligence, that to do it in a way where she's still in her feminine, yet you're letting her lead. You're doing it in a way where you're still that strong silent partner in the background, and you're still that strong, confident voice. It takes a certain type of guy to do that. In my opinion, those are the guys that get the real baddies, the strong women. And last, I know this, I feel like I've been ranting for a bit. It's my opinion that like the strong-willed ones are the biggest softies.
The strongest what?
The strong-willed ones are the biggest softies. The strong-willed, independent women, they're softies, right? They're just looking for someone that they can, that somebody, one, applauds that, encourages that, and gives them the space to be themselves. And I feel like in general, from a people standpoint, when you give people the space to truly be themselves, they will love you for it.
Yeah. And then they're just a reflection of who you are. And it sounds like all of this is just a, like you said, it's a balancing of these, I guess, masculine and feminine energies, and being able to hold that space is one of the biggest thing that resonated for me, because I feel like those characteristics are very similar to who I am as a woman. And you're right. I feel like I'm just waiting for the version of myself to come to fruition.
Yeah. The yin to your yang.
Hey, Pablo, man, we got to do another series, man, because we only got like a couple minutes left.
I'm with it.
I love how you just drop these gems for these people, but please let everybody know where they can find you, what your handles are, and then how you can best help them.
Yes, absolutely. Real quick, first, thank you, Fran. Thanks so much for having me on. I'm very honored. I'm honored that you would invite me here. So I hope I did a good job and provide a lot of value. Thank you so much. And also, thank you for coming on my live and showing love. That's definitely always appreciated. I never take that for granted. So thank you. That's first and foremost. Secondly, for everybody else, so you can find me on TikTok. I'm at Pablo J Rosario, or on Instagram at Pablo.J.Rosario. And just feel free to hit me up. Listen, if I can help you in any sort of way, you want to know how we can work together, just message me like, hey, listen, I heard you on Fran's podcast, and then I'll give you a free session where I hear you out. I'll see if I can tell you what's going on and show you how I can help you. And then we can go and get you going, get you healed, get you, me cuddling up with somebody there. That's my job. I want to help you cuddle up with somebody.
Let Pablo get you cuffed up this season.
I got you. Everybody wants somebody to cuddle with. Let's be real. We all like being a small spoon every now and then.
I love spooning.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. And I can help you do that. That's what I do.
So before you go, Pablo, I just wanted to ask one more question. It was supposed to be a round robin, but we don't have that much time. What's one of the funniest stories that you can share with us, and whether about dating or whatever you feel led to share?
Oh wow, what a great question. One of the funniest stories. Oh gosh, I'm trying to think. I'm sure I've had my fair share of rejections and funny stories. And dude, man, goodness gracious. I mean, I mean, I guess we can start with one of the first ones when I first started getting out there in the dating world. There was a woman that I matched up with on Tinder when Tinder first came out, and I was excited. I was like, cool, I moved to LA. She's my first match out here. Let's make it happen. We met up by the pier, and right off the bat, she did not exactly look like her picture. Well, I was like, let me give this a shot, whatever. So then we go off to a coffee shop and start talking, and then a dog passes by, and she goes, "Oh, cute little dog," and I'm like, "Yeah, it's a cute dog." And we keep talking, and then second time another dog passes by, she goes, "Oh, look, a dog," and I'm like, "Yeah, a dog, yeah." Anyway, we keep talking, and then a third dog passes by. "Oh my God, look at the little dog! It's so cute!" And I'm like, something's not right here. It's like I don't know what's going on, but every time it's a dog, I don't know who she's on a date with. And then as we leave, I'm like, okay, cool, no, nice to meet you. Yeah, now we'll keep in touch. I didn't keep in touch, but I'm not gonna lie, the apartment was a little scared because she worked in cybersecurity. So like I worried that she because I didn't message her back, she would hack my stuff. And so I kind of lived with that paranoia for a little bit until like, okay, I think I'm safe. It's been a few months.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So it's part of the world dating. I'm sure there's a lot more, a lot of funny rejections, but that's that's the thing with up downs, funny story. You gotta look at it like that. Just another funny story.
Well, thank you for sharing that story with us, Pablo. Everybody, once again, he already shared his socials, and what I'll do is I'll put it inside of the video. That way you can find him as well and his links. Pablo, if you can stay on for a minute. Absolutely. All right, everybody, have a great Friday, and we'll chat with you tomorrow.